was watching CNN. This story about some mall in Minnesota. And these gigantic fat people buying stuff.
Wrap it up, will you? We're
It's like
finally
my parents.
done.
Oh, thank
You should
God.
see our
Stay
house.
tuned for the news, weather, and yada,
Stupid
yada, yada.
coffee
Bye.
maker.
Really stunk up the airwaves with that one, didn't we?
Defending AJ Soprano might seem like a tough proposition. By normal standards, he's a stupid, spoiled, selfish, lazy, fragile, maladjusted basket case. However, it's a mistake to judge him by normal standards, as we need to consider his abnormal situation. Making this adjustment, it gets easier to defend him, as I think he's hated for being a normal person surrounded by violent psychos.
Little hothead, yeah.
For all his flaws, AJ might be the only good person in the entire series.
That's your mommy's name, Blanca.
It's reasonable that people neglect good and bad, when every other character constantly does stuff like this.
I'm pouring my heart out, man.
Chris, you're in the Mafia. My place is just up the drive there. We'll call the police. They'll come right out.
So, being relatively normal, coupled with his obvious character flaws, it's reasonable if you don't like AJ. But do you know who else is a stupid, spoiled, selfish, lazy, fragile, maladjusted basket case? Tony Soprano.
What is with you tonight?
So, AJ Soprano was a good person, and Tony Soprano was a bad person.
I didn't hurt nobody.
What, you want a cookie?
Fiorchino spent most of his so-called defense of AJ, explaining how AJ is actually really similar to Tony.
What I think most people miss is how alike Tony and AJ really are.
Tony Soprano was a cancer to everyone around him.
See this?
Yeah, I noticed that. What happened?
It's cancer.
But somehow comparing AJ to Tony is considered defending AJ.
Tony is everything we want to be. AJ is everything we fear that we are.
Let me tell you something. I've murdered friends before, even relatives.
Unlike Tony, AJ seemed to know the difference between right and wrong.
What specifically are you talking about?
Take his time with the little mobsters Tony arranged to be his friends. Their friendship was, no doubt, the best thing for him at the time.
You wanna come?
I don't know. I'm just gonna hang here.
Come on.
However, after seeing his friends victimize an innocent man, he realized that he didn't want anything to do with them.
You sound depressed again.
I mean, how can anybody not be?
This was a difficult choice that meant returning to his despair and isolation. But for a good person like him, this was no choice at all.
I mean, why can't we all just get along?
So, Buddy Whispers claims that AJ was actually a bad person and would have done violent things if he wasn't so timid.
You have a kid with a tendency towards depression without the outlets, as well as an inclination towards violence without the courage to back it up, and it's easy to see how this could lead to inner turmoil.
Alright, you guys move. Alright, go hang somewhere else. I'll give you this bike.
Trading his bicycle doesn't make him timid. In a rare turn, it actually makes him smart, making use of the only resource his family had equipped him with. Expensive things which he didn't need.
It's a Gary Fisher. It's only a year old. And my parents gave it to me last Christmas.
I also disagree with Buddy Whisper's interpretation of the foot scene.
I said in the Jackie Jr. AJ comparison episode that I thought AJ appeared to like the violence, and this drew some debate in the comments section.
I wouldn't go as far to say that AJ was mortified, but to be fair, his reaction is vague enough that it's open to interpretation. My personal conclusion is that if you've spent your entire life kept out of the family business, having no power and feeling like a joke, it must have been a relief to finally be on the other side of things for a change. Tony never had to deal with any of these problems, as he had his hands held by his mafia friends and mentors for his whole life.
Tony clearly enjoys the violence, and he had to be prodded into committing his first hit by Paulie.
Come on, kid, do it.
Even with these advantages, he was still stupid to the point of having to ask for advice on how to intimidate someone.
Yeah. Hesh, I'm tapped out. This guy won't listen to reason.
I pictured your house different. I thought it'd be like Don Corleone's compound with gate, wall, big old Cadillacs.
The only important story in AJ's childhood is the fight that never happened with his former friend.
Here.
I'll fight you for it.
I can't.
To sum it up, his friend's parents stopped them from being friends because they were terrified of
I
Tony.
want to get together and cook up some dogs for the boy.
That's great, Tony, that's great. I'll see you around.
This established the trend that until season 6, the only people who wanted to be friends with him were snide little shit who only wanted to be near him because they were too stupid to realize that he had nothing to do with the mafia.
Maybe we can get you a prospectus, huh? They're looking for investors.
Well, absolutely. For your dad. You can ask him to look at it.
For a brief time in the second half of season 6, AJ was not a stupid, spoiled, selfish, lazy, fragile, maladjusted basket case. During the time jump, he became the manager of a pizza place, which may not sound impressive, but it's impressive for AJ, and far more than Tony would have ever been able to accomplish in law-abiding society.
I don't show up for 8 years. All of a sudden, you turn my office into a storeroom.
I'm gonna work my ass off. You know I'll always take care of you guys. In 3 months, I've made night manager of the pizzeria. In another 3, I'll be in charge of the day shifts, too. I'll own a chain of restaurants, clubs. You'll never have to work again.
He also had a healthy relationship with a single mother. However, she left him because his family's money made her feel insecure.
Brian and Janine must be so happy. Just a 2? It's big, right?
It's a mansion.
Fresh salad.
What do you think went wrong?
I think maybe it's because we have way more money in my family than hers.
Meat packers. I'm a happily married man.
This sent AJ spiraling into despair, and he lost everything he had achieved. Then he considered enlisting in the military, which brings us to his parents.
Get in!
AJ's parents were unwilling to take the steps needed to have him grow up, to the point of keeping him from military school due to a panic attack, and later getting him a cushy job and buying him a new car.
I'm gonna join the army.
You would be, what is the word? Development executive on this project.
This was systematic, as both parents spoiled and demeaned him.
I'm supposed to get a vasectomy when this is my male heir? Look at him.
A few moments later.
I'm sorry for talking to you the way I did. Couldn't ask for a better son, AJ. And I mean that.
So between Tony and Carmela, AJ was brought up getting both the carrot and the stick.
Thank you for doing it. You've helped your family tremendously.
I flunked out of school.
Tony was the only one to actually get violent with him, but Carmela seemed to approve of this, even deciding to send him to live with Tony in the same scene that Tony grabbed him by the throat.
He can go live with you.
Don't get dramatic now, all right? Because when you were growing up, if it wasn't for her, I would have knocked all your baby teeth out with one shot.
Take him. Let him live with you.
It's difficult to overstate just how bad they were at parenting. They didn't seem to have a clue about what their son needed in life.
What's the matter? What happened?
He was not smart enough to succeed at college like his mother wanted, but he wasn't a psycho either. He could become a part of the mafia and bond with his father. The feelings of inadequacy he had toward Tony finally sent him over the edge when his sister corrected him on how important he actually was as the only male heir of an Italian family.
We're Italian, EJ. You're their son. You'll always be more important.
Which highlighted and intensified his inability to relate to his parents or find any purpose in his life.
AJ? In my business, forget it. He'd never make it.
His sister seemed to prosper, while he only failed.
What do you want, Meadow?
How was your exam?
I didn't take it.
The difference is that as an academically gifted young woman, Meadow fit into her life like a glove. She was not expected or encouraged to have a place in the mafia, but she still managed to help a guy get whacked.
You gotta hear what Meadow just told us.
Mom!
The cat's out of the bag, Meadow.
I was in the back of a butcher shop ratting out a guy I don't really even know. I mean, what do you think's gonna happen to Vito?
And eventually she came to terms with the role the mafia played in her life.
If I hadn't seen you dragged away all those times by the FBI, then I'd probably be a boring suburban doctor.
By the end, she had decided to live up to this as a lawyer and a mafia wife.
Tony Soprano's kid.
A more apt comparison is to Christopher, who was also a stupid, spoiled, selfish, lazy, fragile, maladjusted basket case. But he was also a psycho, so he fit pretty well into the mafia lifestyle, and repeatedly chose to remain in it even when given the option to leave. Christopher was, in essence, Tony's mafia son, and we all saw where that got him. AJ's closest brush with the mafia lifestyle came when he tried to get revenge on Junior for shooting Tony, which, because he's not a psycho, was never going to happen. But it showed how much AJ wanted to belong, how important Tony's acceptance was to him, and how being kept out of the family business left him an insecure mess with no purpose to his life.
Do you realize what's gonna happen to you?
Tony shot you!
And what did you do? Nothing. I guess your heart was in the right place, AJ. But it's wrong. Come on.
All right, because every time we watch Godfather, when Michael Corleone shoots those guys that tried to kill his dad, you say it's your favorite scene of all time.
It's a movie.
What happened to say cheese? Cheese!
Be sure to check out Pure Kino and Woolly Whispers. They make great Sopranos videos.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
If you enjoyed this Sopranos video, please consider liking and subscribing to give the channel a little push.
Call that motivating me?
Once again, thank you so much to the people who leave such positive comments. They really make this all worthwhile.
Good night, you princes of Maine. You kings of New England.
Until next week, please don't do anything that we wouldn't do, would you? And if you don't do it, don't enjoy something.